Hey, it's Chris. Happy Apple Event Day. I am here with my unfiltered, unscripted thoughts and ideas and reactions to the iPhone 13 lineup. So, meet the new iPhone. Same as the old iPhone. Kind of. I mean, there are differences, but a lot of people are gonna say, where are they? For the people who are just looking at the regular iPhone 13, I think a lot of the differences are gonna be more felt than seen. I think for a lot of people, the biggest feature, I hate to even say this, is probably gonna be the extended battery life. If you're one of those people out there complaining about the MagSafe battery pack, then maybe you would rather just have extra battery built in to get you through to the end of the day right into your iPhone. So we got some new color options. It's nothing drastic. I feel like we're sort of at the point where we've ran out of really great new colors to drop into the lineup that are gonna make you say, wow. A lot of people are gonna be excited about this pink color. There's a new blue finish, which to me actually kind of looks more like what the Pro finish looked like last year. You can't go wrong with the black. That just looks good. They're calling this the Starlight finish, and it's really just kind of a white or an off-white, and that's cool too. And you've got your product red. Out of all of these, I think I would probably just end up going with the black. Now we did get some camera upgrades. You know, depending on who you are, you're gonna find it exciting or you're gonna yawn. And for me, I mean, I'm excited by them. You might notice or you might not notice that there's a new camera layout on the back. What I'm mostly excited about is this bigger camera sensor on the wide camera. The whole reason I got the 12 Pro Max last year was for the bigger sensor size and being able to reduce noise in low light situations. So that matters. And they also put in some optical image stabilization. And I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people are not even gonna notice the difference. The thing is, the moments in your life are gonna turn into the memories that you have. And if you wanna preserve them to the best ability that you have at the moment for your future self, then yeah, being able to reveal more detail in the dark areas of your photos, it does matter. By the way, the reason I say the average person may not be able to tell is because you could tell if you saw one photo right next to another one that did or didn't have these new features. I think you could pick it out very easily, but when you don't have anything to compare it to, you trade it in your old phone, you just have your new one and you're using it, that's what I'm saying. I don't think you're gonna notice a huge difference in that regard. I do like the addition of this optical image stabilization. I'll tell you why. Because there are plenty of times, even in my own day-to-day life, when I'm trying to take a picture really quickly and I'm not sitting there and lining something up because the action is happening really quick, really fast. Maybe I'm on the move, maybe my subject's on the move, maybe I'm on a bike or something, and I just need to get that picture taken, and this is gonna keep things looking sharp. And to be honest, I think what's even more impressive is that those changes are showing up in the 13 mini. The mini actually seems more compelling this year. Okay, so here's the big thing, I think. The iPhone went to film school so you don't have to. That's quite a selling point. Now, when the rumors started surfacing that cinematic video mode was gonna hit iPhones, the first thing I thought to myself was, if they're doing portrait mode for video, it has to be done really well. And this is what I said, if Apple releases it, then they're probably confident that they've done it really well. To be done really well, they have to handle the edge detection superbly. If you're dropping frame to frame where an edge gets detected or masked or blended or not, then this is going to be awful and no one's going to want to use it, and it's gonna be kind of a laughingstock. So if Apple's releasing it, I'm pretty confident that they've done this really well. And if they did, yeah, it's a huge, huge, huge deal. And I'll explain why. It's all about depth of field, and I don't care if it's simulated or real as long as it looks good. On the kind of cameras that people shoot high quality video on right now, you have to have interchangeable lenses to get that shallow, nice depth of field. So for the iPhone to just waltz in and say, no, here, I'll take care of that for you. Look, I gotta test it. So make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss my unboxings and then my actual reviews and all the comparison videos I'm gonna be doing, right? To help you make the best buying decision. But if they implement this and nail it, this is easily gonna be the standout and best feature in my mind. Now, I'm really liking the fact that you can adjust that simulated depth of field after the fact. To do that, you have to record and capture a whole lot of data. So it's no wonder that they've boosted the base level storage here, because if you're gonna take advantage of this, you're gonna need it. Plus, it shoots Dolby Vision HDR, which blew me away. The first time I saw an iPhone shooting in Dolby Vision, it's so bright, that video. I just wish that I could upload it to YouTube to share that video with the world. Let's just briefly mention we have Smart HDR4 here, which is gonna be able to recognize up to 4 people in a scene at once and automatically adjust everything for everybody's situation and face to make sure that everybody's looking as good as possible. I think that's cool. That's a practical everyday use. Now, something that I think is actually pretty cool are the new photographic styles. Basically, these styles are smarter filters. So a filter is just gonna apply to everything in your photo, but here, Apple is just tuning stuff. So you can selectively apply adjustments to everything but the face. The skin tones are gonna be preserved and look good. And then what's cool is your selections get remembered. So it's not like you have to go in and redo the same steps for every photo. Set it and forget it. I like that. And I don't mind spending a little time making it look how I want to once and then just letting it take care of business after that. I'm glad that the front camera got some attention here. I do want to mention that because if you're going to be in the photo, you want a good camera experience, but it's too hard to turn it around and not be able to line things up and frame it without a screen. So if you want to be looking at the screen, you want that true depth camera to be better, and it has the same features that you're going to get on the back camera, which I like. That cinematic mode, the photographic styles, even the Dolby HDR recording. And as you're looking at this, do you notice that the notch looks a little bit smaller? I say a little bit, it's not a huge change, but it is a little bit smaller. Now I mentioned the storage space earlier. The base level now is 128 gigs. We're past the days when you would have to get 64 gigs as the base. So the screen here is Super Retina XDR. What does that mean in practical terms? Well, it means you're gonna enjoy your HDR content. So now it's 28% brighter. The colors are gonna be more accurate if you're watching a film. And then, as you would expect on an iPhone, the details are gonna look plenty sharp. Again, if the camera stuff isn't enough to get you really excited, and for a lot of people, I understand it's like the camera improves, but the form doesn't change and you get a little bit sick of it and you wait for that big redesign to hit every 3 years or whatever. Well, again, I think you're looking at the battery and you're saying, hey, 2.5 hours of extra battery for the 13, maybe that is actually meaningful for me. Even 1.5 hours extra on the 13 mini. A lot of people like that mini, but they looked at the battery life last year and they're like, I don't know if I can get by with that. Well, an extra hour and a half might take you past the finish line. The A15 is here, and what is there to say about it? It's the same thing Apple says every year. It's faster, it's better, it's the best, and it's better than all the competition. Okay, but here's what I'm saying. It's getting hard for Apple to explain what faster actually means, because really the iPhone was already fast enough to do everything that anyone wanted it to do anyways. And now it's faster. I guess another way to say it is it's just not gonna be laggy. And really the only people that are gonna notice something is if you're coming from, you know, a much older iPhone. If you're just coming from the 12, even if you're coming from the 11, I don't know how much you're gonna notice, you know, your apps being snappier. But when it comes to the camera and these new camera features, that's when you need this A15. Something's gotta power all that computation happening under the hood. And of course, the A15 is going to sip the battery life. Therefore, that's where a lot of that extra power is going to be coming from, just the chip gains. iOS 15 has been out in beta for a long time. I've been using it, I've been liking it. There's some really neat upgrades. And so if you haven't been testing iOS 15 in beta, then probably all those new iOS 15 features are what's going to make the phone feel more new to you almost than the hardware features that we've been talking about. But let's talk a little bit about the 13 Pros, because this is what I'm really excited about here. Better cameras, better display, of course the new chip. Well, before we dive into that, let's check out the colors. There's a new color called Sierra Blue, and it's kind of this light blue, but I'm kind of liking it actually. I think that's the one to go for this year for me. Got a graphite, kind of not super dark black, it's more of a gray. The gold, I went with gold last year and I'm not gonna do that again. The silver, you know, it's just feeling kind of plain to me. So cameras, when you talk about Pro, this is mostly what you're talking about. And I'm actually really surprised that they didn't reserve that cinematic video mode for just the Pros. Now you can take true macro photos on the 13 Pro. That is something I'm really excited about, especially for video. This just makes things a lot more creative. So if I can capture macro detail in slow motion, that's even better. Something I don't believe they mentioned in the event was that you can shoot macro time lapses. I'm not gonna end up using that very much myself, and I consider myself a pro video guy, but it's just nice to have the option. Let me pause right here and just say, the iPhone 12 Pro Max was really the first video camera that I could integrate into my wider Sony camera setup, right? I could plug it in. Nobody hardly knew that I was using that for B-roll, even for some of my videos, just really good product shots. I was not able to use any other iPhone before the 12 Pro Max with its larger sensor and ability to shoot in lower light conditions for real world video, stuff that I was using professionally. So that was already good. And now we're dropping in a wide camera that gives you a wider aperture and a larger sensor that uses that LiDAR scanner. Faster sensor, new autofocus, the telephoto has night mode too. You can't only be pro when there's good light, right? Being pro means being pro all the time and everywhere. And so you don't want to eliminate 50% of the time you can go and be creative and capture things when it's dark, whether you're inside or outside. When it's night, you still need to get work done as a pro. And if you're not a pro and you're just an enthusiast and you just want the best iPhone out there, I mean, this stuff matters. To get 2.2 times more light for photos and for videos is a really big deal. I can't wait to get my hands on this. Now, it looks like it looks. You know, it's very, very similar, very familiar, but what it can produce is not necessarily familiar. This is a step beyond, especially the ultra wide camera, because it was really lacking when it came to low light in the past. So 92% more light here, that's a big deal. Again, you don't want the best features only reserved for certain use cases or scenarios. You want to be unlimited, and night mode coming to every camera helps you be less limited. All right, now Apple is touting the zoom, and that's okay. We don't yet have periscopic zooms on iPhones, and that's too bad. You do get the telephoto here, and if you go from ultra wide to telephoto, you can get 6x zoom. Okay, I'll just say it. I would love to see 10x or 20x zoom on an iPhone. Okay, I can't wait until that happens. Still, we're getting this 77mm focal length, and that is nice. The telephoto alone gives you that 3x optical zoom. The G Master lens that I've got in this camera right here is a 30mm. Now, when I'm shooting portraits, I like to use 50s. I like to use in the 70s as well. So again, more tools in the arsenal is not a bad thing. And I've been finding myself using the telephoto on my 12 Pro Max more than I ever have in the last few months, especially on social media, because sometimes you just need to crop things out, and you can actually do that with the telephoto. Of course, we've already talked about cinematic mode on the regular 13s, but the 13 Pros are gonna take advantage of that too, only with better cameras. Now, just as it was rumored, ProRes has arrived on the iPhone lineup, and this they did reserve for the Pro models, and I can completely understand why. Number one, your average person does not need this. If you're producing something professionally and you really need a lot of color data so you can manipulate things just the way that you want, then yes, you're gonna like this ProRes, absolutely. If you don't know what the word ProRes means, then you're not gonna care. Just forget about it. And here with the 13s and the 13 Pros, as long as that cinematic video mode isn't gimmicky, and we'll have to see, we gotta test it, then I think you can say Apple knows they have something good and they didn't want to mess with it too much. And as much as some people are going to complain and say this isn't different enough, there's no arguing that this is a solid, very usable phone that you can rely on. I mean, when you see that this Pro can go up to 1 terabyte of storage, that tells you that this is meant to be a workhorse. This is meant to be used in real world situations. You need all that storage if you're going to be shooting ProRes. I'm excited for people who aren't really into the video space to be able to have access to these tools, but compare this to a cinema camera that can shoot ProRes, right? This is vastly cheaper. And then we get to the ProMotion. And for some people, this is everything. I've seen a lot of comments where people are like, just give me the ProMotion. Once we get 120 hertz, then I will upgrade. Well, this is the one thing that I think is gonna cause a lot of people to upgrade because they were holding off, waiting for it. Now, I'm excited that it came and it's not just 120 hertz across the board. What I mean is it's adaptive, and so it's smarter. It's smarter than just 120 hertz. It's 120 hertz when needed, but it goes down to 10 hertz when not needed in order to preserve battery life. So whatever you're doing, whether you're scrolling through some photos or whether you're watching a video, you're playing a game, or you're just reading some text, the screen is going to adapt. So yes, it's really cool that it goes up to 120 hertz, but it's also really cool that it's not always operating at 120 hertz, because you wouldn't want that. That would kill your battery life. Now, if you're not a super techie and you're wondering, well, 120 hertz, what's all the hype about? You know, it's the kind of thing you may not really notice once you upgrade. You know, it just feels good, but you may not be like, oh, wow, what is this, 120 hertz? But once you've used it, it's hard to go back to not using it. And that's the way that you know that it's a pretty nice upgrade. Now, this OLED being 25% brighter outdoors, that's pretty exciting. I'll tell you why, right? Because we've all been there when you're trying to like figure out what's on the screen. It's just not quite bright enough, really bright, lots of reflections. Anything that's better than what we used to have is a big upgrade. So 25%, I mean, that's decent. Now, for those people who are super into HDR, getting up to 1200 nits of peak brightness is pretty awesome. It's not quite like you're gonna have to put on some sunglasses. It's not that bright, but I mean, that's pretty bright for a phone. And what's cool is because this is an OLED, those blacks are gonna be really deep, really dark, and that contrast between the bright spots and the dark spots is really gonna make these images pop. Now, for the people who are super into battery life, last year you might have bought the 12 Pro Max, and this year I could see you also buying the 13 Pro Max. You're gonna get 2.5 more hours on the 13 Pro Max. 2.5 hours, that's a lot of hours. Now, it probably is gonna actually be less than that in real world usage, but if you were finding yourself running out of power towards the end of the day, and to the point where you had like some anxiety, am I gonna be able to finish doing what I need to do, then it's nice to have this option. Personally, I have found myself wishing that I could get just the regular 13 Pro this year. So the fact that I can get 1.5 hours of extra battery on that 13 Pro, that's still meaningful. You guys know me if you're a subscriber on this channel. I like to have the most power and capabilities in the smallest device that I can if it's going in my pocket. So yeah, there are some real upgrades here, but yes, they're mostly internal. Right, at this point, it's not like you have to upgrade every single year. Now, the pros out there might want to push the envelope. That's me, right? I'm gonna have my personal phone and I always buy an iPhone that's just for the business every year, just for videography mostly, but also for social stuff. Of course, I'm gonna be getting my hands on all of these. I'm gonna be doing some unboxings, reviews, comparisons, buying guides. So please make sure you're subscribed. We'll talk more about this on the podcast as well this week. So get yourself subscribed to that. You can find that down in the description and stay tuned. I got lots more event coverage coming up. And if you like this video, I've also got some videos coming out really shortly on the new iPad mini and Apple Watch Series 7. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.